PrizePicks Prop Show. That's right, it's time for me and Stuart Durst to tell you about our PrizePicks prop plays for this weekend in college football week 5. I'm Michael Govier. You can follow me on Twitter at MJGovier. You can follow Stuart on Twitter at Monotone Football. But there's nothing monotone about Stuart's plays. They are lively and fully vibrant, capable of changing your life for the better every single week. And of course, you know what's a great way to change your life every single week? Using PrizePicks. Pop in the code. Look at me making connections here. $100 will be matched if you use the promo code FTN. Real simple. Promo code FTN. Up to 100 bones will be matched when you sign up for PrizePicks. It's that easy. It's so simple to use. The interface rocks. It's a really, really great app. Stuart, we're going into week 5 here. How are we feeling about this week's slate of games?
It's an interesting slate. I feel like a little bit tougher for the spreads for me personally, but a little bit better for the props. You know, a lot of these close games, I'm not sure where it goes either way, but I think there are a lot of good spots we can kind of take advantage of for player props in these close games. So interesting week, but I think we got some good edges today on the show.
What's the secret to props for you? Do you have a certain angle you're always looking for? Because I find it curious. I always want to ask every better analyst, why do you pick the plays you do? Is it because you see an edge more than any other game, or what's the story with props in particular?
Yeah, I like to target like micro matchups, right? When we kind of look at these games, who's going to win the battles in the trenches, who has the cornerback advantage. Also, you really, for me at least, have to have a game script down, right? You have to have an idea of how you think the game is going to go. You have to feel very confidently in that. And that's kind of where you get your props from, right? If I think, Texas A&M is going to destroy somebody this week, then I'm going to pick their running back because I know they're going to get up ahead, they're going to control the clock, and they're going to try to grind the game down. So it's just kind of stuff like that where you just have to be confident in your ability to read a game, and then you go from there.
All right, well, there it is, folks. A little insight on Stuart's analysis. Now let's get into pick number 1. What's your first prop play of the weekend?
Yeah, speaking of Texas A&M, we can both make connections on this show. I'm going Devon Achane right here, over 97.5 rushing and receiving yards. One of the most vibrant players, I believe you used that adjective earlier, in college football so far this season. In all seriousness, though, this guy is stunningly talented, right? It's just about getting him the ball. I think everyone that watches this guy, whether it's his speed off the bat or even those kind of secondary bursts he has in space, it's really, really impressive. He started out the first 2 games. He did not hit this number. Texas A&M looked really lost. They finally started to get going in 2 tougher matchups, right? The first 2 matchups, he didn't get it against Sam Houston, right, when we were talking about it on the show. But once you roll into Miami, suddenly, the wheels start to get turning, and the volume is insane so far. He has touched the ball on 40% of rush attempts or targets in this team's offense, right? He is super, super involved, and I really do think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I don't think Texas A&M wants it to be a high-scoring game. It's the other side, Mississippi State, right? We throw the ball about 5,000 times a game. It's all about offense, short passes, keep going. Let's get that air raid going on the other side of that. I think that means Texas A&M is going to have to play catch-up. Achane is just one big play waiting to happen. So I combined rushing, I combined receiving. I don't know if he's going to burst a 50-yard run or a 50-yard catch. I like that we can kind of combine it together right here and take advantage of one of the most dynamic players in college football.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been down that road before, and Texas A&M could break your heart every day of the week. I wish you well, my friend. I really do. I actually was looking at Achane myself. I had him on my list, my finalized top 4. And I pick 2 every week, so he was in the mix. Good call. I like it. My first play of the day is a Northwestern running back. Now, long gone to the days of Darnell Autry and, the Randy Walker. May he rest in power. It was some great runs, some great running backs that played for Northwestern. And right now, another one exists in Evan Hull. Evan Hull is a double threat. He's running and receiving. He's got 370 rushing yards. He's got 311 receiving yards. That is incredible balance from Hull. And yes, Northwestern stinks to high heaven, but that's the key here. They rely on Hull so much for their overall offensive plan. He's all they've got, really. And this week, I think it's a real easy call for Evan Hull to go over 25.5 receiving yards. This guy gets in the mix in the game plan. And even though it's Penn State, you might fear them. It's a tough game. Northwestern will lose, I'm sure of it. But even if they get shut out, even if it comes to that, which I don't think will happen, he's going to rack up the yardage. And I think him getting to 30 receiving yards is very, very doable, especially when Northwestern gets behind and they get desperate and they'll be dinking and dunking. And Evan Hull will be a big part of that. So give me the over on the 25.5 receiving yards for Evan Hull.
I love this play. I was so excited to see you post this one in. I was actually considering his under on rushing yards, and I think they correlate really well. You're not going to be able to run up the middle against this Penn State team. That's not going to happen, right? You might as well give me the ball and let me get a couple of cracks in at it, because that is an absolutely brutal matchup. What needs to happen, they need to get him involved on the outside. They need to get him the ball in space. Like you said, clearly their best offensive player on that team. Love this play. We'll definitely be tailing this one 100%.
Yeah, I got the Stewart stamp of approval. That's awesome here on the PrizePicks Prop Show presented by FTN. Of course, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel here. It's all free. Sub, like, you know the drill. You know how YouTube works. All right, let's go to your second play here, Stuart Durst.
Yep, I'm going over to this Michigan State game right now, and I'm going Keon Coleman over 47.5 receiving yards. We're going with the dual threat, basketball, football, 6'4". This guy's got everything. A lot of talk in this Michigan State offense is kind of about the Thorne-Reed connection. It's very well known. You know it, I know it, the announcers know it. What happens when everyone knows it? The opposing defenses know it too. Reed is getting all the attention in the world beyond the fact that he's been banged up all season long. And what's happened so far is over these first 4 games, Coleman has really kind of stepped into the spotlight as kind of the preferred passing option, especially when he's getting secondary coverage by opposing teams. Went over this number in 2 of his 4 games so far, but the 2 he did go over, he went way over. And those were the 2 games where they were actually in pass-heavy game scripts. The one against Minnesota, he did not go over last week because they absolutely got stomped so bad that they barely had the ball and no time of possession. They weren't able to throw themselves back into that game, unfortunately. And then when you look where he didn't get it against Akron, they just demolished them. They didn't need to throw. They just ran the ball all game, right? So those are his 2 misses. His 2 wins, he went for 90 and over 100 yards in those 2 games. When they have to throw, it is clear that he needs to be heavily involved. And now we get a Maryland team. They want to play high pace. They want to get in a shootout with you. They're going to take advantage of that very bad Michigan State secondary. I think we're going to have to see offense, whether Michigan State likes it or not. And I think that means another huge game for Coleman.
The only thing I want to ask you about, any weather concerns here that a big dumping of rain will come in tomorrow?
Yeah, that's always the concern with all these kind of hurricane after effects kind of, affecting, I guess, the whole country right now, or at least the East Coast. For me, the biggest thing, what I always say in these rain games is rain affects the offense and the defense, right? Both teams. The offenders are going to have trouble, right? The receivers are going to have trouble catching the ball. The defenders are going to have a lot more trouble tackling you, actually getting you to the ground at that point. Wind is where I get more scared for pass catchers, when the wind is absolutely crazy. But if we're just seeing rain, wet conditions, we can get those lower ADOT passes and he can make people miss. So I still feel good about it, even if the conditions are a little bit ugly.
Wow, that's a really, really astute observation there, because when think about it. If you ever played football in your life, just even backyard football, wherever, in the street, in a parking lot. Actually, we used to play in a parking lot every night. It was so dumb. We'd play 2-on-2 football in a parking lot at like 11:30 at night in the winter. There'd be ice on it and everything. It was just so dumb. Anyways, that's what youth is. It's being dumb and learning from your mistakes the hard way. But I remember trying to just cover somebody. When you're running backwards, when it's wet, it's hard to play corner. It's hard to be a DB on your heels as it is. And then if it's wet, it's going to be even more difficult. So I like that. The defense is just as susceptible to the weather. Good call, Stuart. My final play here on the PrizePicks Prop Show, presented by FTN, is same game, oddly enough. We didn't plan it this way, Stuart. I don't believe we did. I'm going with Roman Hemby, the running back for the Maryland Terrapins. Now, I took the other approach here. If the weather is a big problem, the running game, I hope, doesn't suffer at all. If anything, yeah, maybe some guys slip, and Hemby can stick some jukes and move. But regardless, he's averaging 7.1 yards per carry, folks. That's really good. And maybe something that was lost last week in the tough loss to Michigan on the road was the fact that Maryland ran the ball really, really well against Michigan's front. And that's one of the best fronts in the Big Ten. It's better than Michigan State's right now. I'll certainly say that. And that's no Michigan bias here. No Michigan bias on that comment. I want to be clear. But I think Roman Hemby can easily get over 69.5 rushing yards. That's right. Roman Hemby and the Maryland offensive line are going to push forward against Michigan State, who's a mess right now. I do think Michigan State will play a lot better this week. Mel Tucker is a good coach. But I think Roman Hemby over 69.5 rushing yards is doable.
Yeah, sparks are going to fly in that one, man. I see a lot of offense, a lot of mouths are going to be fed in this game. So I think everyone can eat, right? Coleman on one side, especially if Maryland gets ahead. I'm going to have to be throwing to my receiver, and your running back's going to be running the ball. So it'll kind of go perfectly for these props, right?
Yeah, and with Talia Tagovailoa being maybe up in the air right now, it's a tough weekend right now for the Tagovailoas. Poor Tua got hurt last night, and now Talia was already hurt, uncertain for this weekend. So I hope everybody in the family is well rested and gets healthy, and I would love to see him on the field. It would make this game just that much better. And I'm definitely taking the over in that game in my overall betting picks for this weekend. I think it's 60.5. I'm taking it for sure. I'm with you, Stuart. You are a wise man. All right, well, we've done it. That's another edition of the PrizePicks Prop Show, college football style, for Week 5. He's Stuart Durst. You can follow him on Twitter at Monotone Football, and I'm Michael Govier at MJ Govier. Make sure you're following FTN Bets, FTN Daily on Twitter as well. And, of course, PrizePicks. $100 will be matched, okay? Real simple. PrizePicks is a very, very simple app to use. And it is, frankly, it's a lot of fun. You'll probably keep using it again and again and again. And if you use that promo code FTN, just type it in, FTN, boom, $100 will be matched up to, okay? So if you put in $60, we'll match up to 60. Put up to 100, we'll match up to 100. That's how it goes. Pretty cool. Overall, today's plays are Stuart Durst is taking two dudes that you should be taking as well. The first one is Devon Achane, over 97.5 combined rushing and receiving yards. And Keon Coleman of Michigan State, over 47.5 receiving yards. I'm taking Roman Hemby over 69.5 rushing yards. And Evan Hull over 25.5 receiving yards. There it is. Thanks so much for watching the PrizePicks Prop Show. We'll see you.